Today we're going to look at episode 3 of Life is Strange in episode 9 of our analysis. As always, there's a review. We don't have to worry too much about that. We've already covered the use of reviews. There's also a very long cutscene to try and get us into the mood. Fortunately, the rest of the introduction isn't as prolonged as it is in Chapter 2. In this chapter, it's fairly straightforward to get into the game proper, but there is a piece of low-hanging design fruit here for anyone that cares to take a look, and that is, please make your cutscenes skippable. This one is so unskippable, I can't even access the menu while it's playing. So that's pretty unskippable. So don't do that. This was popular for a while. I don't think very many games make this mistake anymore. So don't you make it. Episode 3 here is my absolute favorite episode in the game, and there are a tons of reasons why. It's got the best puzzles, it's got the best writing, it's got the best cinematography. It's just all around the best episode, flat out. It's also one of the longest episodes, maybe even the longest, so it has room for all that stuff. We start with another wake-up scene, but instead of waking up in the morning, we're waking up in the evening. This will give Chloe a chance to shine because she's better at night than during the day. We can see the room here. We're being pulled back into the world of the game in a literal sense. We started from a long shot and just kind of slowly zoomed in, and now we're here with Max. This should get the player, who theoretically hasn't played in 2 weeks, back into the feel of the game.
Kate.
There's also going to be a short gameplay sequence to try and get us back into it, but it's much shorter than in Chapter 2, where it was like 15 minutes long at minimum. So all told, this chapter is better at picking things up and getting things running as soon as possible, and it works pretty well. This chapter also has a number of mechanics which are really, really strong, and I was really disappointed because they only use each of these mechanics once. Still, I would love to see like a immersive 3D version of a Phoenix Wright game that uses these mechanics. One of them is hinted at over here on our wall. We'll get to that when it happens in the game, though. We got a rabbit now. We inherited it from Kate.
Here, not on this.
I'm not sure, because I'm deadly allergic to them, but I don't think that rabbits are supposed to have whole carrots. I thought I read somewhere that was bad for them. Well, what do I know? We're going to encounter the very first of the mechanics I like now. So you may have noticed there's no more sounds of crickets or cicadas.
This is scary dark. Let there be...
So in addition to using our phone for light, there's also a very different sound here. We've muted out the outside world, and that makes a lot of sense. This is an interior hallway, got carpeted floors and a drop ceiling. You won't hear very much in here, but they're not giving us silence. Listen to what they are giving us. That's right. The low hum, and some scary distant noises. That's a technique that you can use in your own games. You do not have to play up the sound when you get into a room. You can just stick in a low hum rather than having tense music or whatever, and it'll work great to make your rooms feel pretty creepy.
I better go.
Also, like the phone, using the phone as a light is great. It's something that's become pretty common in horror games. Most horror games will end up giving you some kind of battery meter. This doesn't do that, which is good, because the battery meters always felt really forced in the horror games, and whose phone only lasts for 5 minutes. You can see that the actual light broadcast is not really very accurate in terms of how it looks on our figure. This was made in Unreal, so there's no reason they couldn't do a little bit of IK. For some reason or another, they decided not to. So while the light tracks the camera, her hand doesn't actually move to make that make sense. That said, the fact that the light comes out of our left hand rather than out of the camera makes this way more immersive. And you can feel like Max is actually in this world, rather than just being a camera floating through the environment. We get a feeling like Max is actually in here. You can use IK for a bunch of cool stuff, and I know that Unreal Engine supports IK. So for example, when you get stuff like this where the characters kind of button their hand up against the wall, it's not that hard to do a simple IK move to make it so that she pulls her hand back or points her camera in a different way or whatever. That is an easy trick in Unreal Engine and in Unity, so if you have something like this, you may want to do that, just so it's not distracting when she slams her hand into a wall for no reason. We're gonna go ahead and talk to one of Victoria's cronies.
I saw you go up on the roof and save Kate. I can't believe she tried to jump.
Obviously, we're gonna go ahead and comfort her. There's no real reason to pin anything on Taylor.
Are you okay?
I'm just like shocked. I've never seen anybody try to kill themselves before.
Me neither. I didn't think you'd be so upset considering how much shit you and Victoria gave Kate.
I'm my own person, not Victoria's bitch. Hello, like she's freaking too. She already broke curfew tonight. Shit, I'm not supposed to tell anybody.
Oh yeah, I won't say a word. You actually have the option to go back in time and claim to have seen it yourself, but there's no reason to do that. In fact, the outcome of this conversation is substantially better, at least in terms of the text that's being shown. I don't know about any kind of stats within the game. Having her call us weird but cool and thank us and stuff like that is much better than her just saying, "Oh, so you noticed that she snuck out."
Now I have to be alone for my nightly anxiety attack.
So even though we get the little pin in the upper left-hand corner there, we're not going to rewind time. That is a fine outcome for us.
Victoria isn't here. Maybe I'll just wait and bide my time. Going through her shit.
Sure. I like this here, the barricade tape. It makes very little sense because she's not dead and she has a solo room. But whatever. It shows that people are really taking this pretty seriously. If you go through, you can read all of the various things that people have said. They're all commiserating, and, well, Max doesn't buy any of it and calls them all just crap. So this is a mechanic I really like. When I played through this element of the game, I thought that the game was going to do this a lot, and they tried, but they screwed it up all the other times. This is the only time they get it right, and that is how it feels to hunt around a room in the dark when you're not supposed to be there with a little light. So the keys here are that you have one light source that you're controlling. There is a lot of density to the room, a lot of complexity to where the things are stored and what you can find. And you have to feel like you're not supposed to be here. Well, listen to the background noise again. Yeah, that helps a lot. But the density is critical, and as is the player-controlled light.
Shit I've done the past days, sneaking out is nothing.
We're here to try and check out if Victoria had anything to do with Kate's problems, and the answer is yeah, Victoria did. At the very least, she didn't help Kate, and we can see that here.
There's Kate. Totally high. She looks confused. Not like she's partying.
It's pretty clear that Victoria knew what was going on, and at the very least, it didn't stop it. We can go through and search all of Victoria's things if we'd like.
A unique point of view is right.
Courtney Wagner is the girl in the striped shirt that I made fun of a while back, but she is apparently a pretty good writer, essayist. The only other thing we really need to do is search her trash can.
That's a lot of bank just to clean paint from a sweater.
So this is set in 2013, and I can tell you that $30 is not a lot of bank to clean paint from a sweater. It's pretty moderate.
Victoria's secret. She's a geek.
So I really like this model. Let's go ahead and take a look at this model, the glow-in-the-dark blueberry. Victoria doesn't have as much freedom to be a geek as the rest of us do, so she has to buy her stuff, on the secret. But this model that she has up here, this glow-in-the-dark model, I really like it because of how cheap and bad it looks. Victoria isn't just a geek. She's a geek that likes something really, really dumb. And it's sort of like, if your most popular college guy around liked Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle toys from the 80s or something. It's just a fun little bit. The question is, how can you photograph that toy? There is actually a photography you can take a photograph
Here
of
they
the
are
toy,
getting loaded with Satan.
but you have to wait a certain amount of time and go through her trash and be at a certain distance. It's actually remarkably odd how they made it so difficult to
Victoria
photograph
and
something that's
Taylor
glowing
actually
in the
show
dark.
remorse. This is like a thread for sociopaths. Max Crackfield? Lame.
So using
Quite
these
right.
kinds of logs,
Nothing to see here.
okay, there we are, that's the trigger.
I guess I shouldn't be so bummed.
Using those kinds of logs, whether they're audio or text logs, is a great way to introduce more content to your game on the cheap without requiring your players to actually read it. Most games do this nowadays, and you shouldn't feel too shy about doing it yourself. It's a little bit harder to do in like fantasy games because there's not a whole lot of reason to leave written documents lying around in a fantasy world. But really the trick is to make it feel natural. It's really easy to make it feel incredibly unnatural that there's just random audio logs lying everywhere. You know how it is. Well, I thought that was the trigger, but I guess
This
not.
sucks. I'm so tired. But I can't stop now.
Well, I've already got the image, so I don't really care. We will do without Victoria's glow-in-the-dark toy. Let's go. Wah. Trying to calm down my mouse a little bit.
Hey, Max? Come here.
So I don't actually want to talk to Dana. She doesn't have anything interesting to say. But I think if we walk out on her,
Hey,
she might get
Dana.
upset.
How are you doing?
Better than Kate. I just can't believe she would even attempt suicide.
So I just noticed she's got Christmas colors on her fingernails. I wonder what's up with that.
I knew she was depressed, but I had no idea how bad.
Must be serious to
I
throw
wonder what
yourself
she's
off the
going
roof.
to the party as if her fingernails are colored
Kate was
green and red.
serious. But it's not all about that video.
So what exactly are you saying, Max? You think this has something to do with Nathan being expelled?
It's complicated. I don't want to drag you into this, okay? Not yet, anyway.
I'm getting scared now.
So these are still just
But
passing
people
conversations that are
still
largely
seem
unblocked,
What?
but since the characters are feeling pretty intense,
Victoria bounced
the
out
conversations are
earlier.
more
You
interesting
sure?
and the body language
me.
can make up for the
I
lack
need
of
to
any
pray
kind
for
of
today.
actual
some sleep
blocking,
too, Dana.
contextual
I'll
blocking.
see you later.
Still, it's not difficult to make a simple program element, which, you can put little keywords into your dialogue and have very simple things like, Max takes a step forward or Max takes a step back or Max turns slightly. Those can be scripted right into the dialogue, and they're small enough motions that they could happen in virtually any environment. So there's not really any reason to totally back down on the blocking. You can block stuff in without even needing to use an animation tool or anything. Let's go ahead and use
Aw,
Dana's laptop
Trevor is a
right in
sweetie.
front of her.
Good for Dana. If Dana talks to Juliet about this, she's gonna wish she didn't.
How exciting. We're out. Let's go someplace interesting. Into the dark. Actually, less dark. Into the bright. There are two huge wings on the outside of the dorm, as well as a second floor that we never see. It's interesting how much larger Blackwell is supposed to be than the pieces we see, but I think it's handled relatively well. So there are a couple of things you can do here. You can take some photos and stuff. We're not going to bother. We're just going to go ahead and try and get to the meat of this. Here is the point where they try and remind you that you have psychic time travel power. So we're just going to go ahead and rewind time so that we don't have any problem sneaking by this guy. I mean, we could get triggered and then rewind, but that would be wasting time.
Max the Ninja strikes again.
Exciting. So now we're into the meat of the game. That was much easier than Chapter 2's. It still took us about 15 minutes, but a lot of that was me rambling on about mechanics that I'd like. Whereas in the first chapter, or the second chapter, I ran through it as fast as humanly possible, and it still took 20 minutes. Chloe? Chloe?
Booyah!
Oh.
Get it? Booyah. Like I'm a scary punk ghost.
More like a scary punk asshole. Hey, Chloe, I didn't exactly have the greatest day.
Once again, all the conversations with Chloe are blocked
I don't think I need you to
very carefully. And I wonder why only... I guess it's because Chloe and Max's conversations are the most important in the game.
Kate saved
But it
herself.
feels so odd that none of the others have any blocking at all.
My head felt like it was being crushed. Then I had no clue what to say to her on that roof.
Don't be
So notice that
modest,
Max is
Rosa.
confiding pretty heavily in Chloe and not putting in any bullshit at all. And that's just a good sign of their relationship. I still really like their relationship because it's the only genuine relationship that Max has.
We have to stop this from happening to anybody else.
Oh yeah, and somehow stop that tornado from wiping out Arcadia Bay, right?
Well, no, I'm okay with that happening. Don't worry, we'll do both endings when we get there.
Please don't joke about this, Chloe. Not right now.
I don't think she was joking.
Max, I'm not laughing at you. My old counselor told me that my sarcasm was a way of avoidance. That's why he's my ex-counselor.
Chloe, I just feel weird about some of my decisions. Especially after I just got Nathan expelled.
I don't feel weird about any of your decisions except for the ones I couldn't control.
I'm looking for clues.
I feel pretty weird about those. So we can talk about Kate, we can talk about Rachel. I don't think it matters either way, because you end up talking about both regardless.
For one thing, there's too much coincidence between the people around Kate and Rachel.
Like Step Prick and Nathan Prescott?
Not just them.
Yep. I just want to beat the shit out of those particular bros.
And even though I don't know her, it feels like Rachel is guiding us to the truth.
Well, this conversation isn't as blocked as I remember it being.
It scares me to think where she could be. Do you think she's...
Alive?
Oh, nice
I
bug.
have to think that, Chloe. Her spirit is so powerful here.
Maybe too much power.
Why do you think that?
Max, we have to find Rachel soon. We have to.
I promise you.
As the player, I've seen no
Like you
hint
said,
that
it's time to start
Rachel's
search for
power
clues.
is peaked or
tell you
anything
what's
like
your
that.
secret.
As far as I know, she's just a real popular schoolgirl.
I present the spare keys to Blackwell. Thank you, Step Prick.
You are such a boss, Chloe. I just don't want you to get into any more trouble.
Look at all the trouble dropping in Arcadia Bay. At this point, who gives a fuck
Lights
anymore?
turned off.
We're in it
Who
to
was
win
in
it,
there, I
Max.
wonder?
Lead the way.
I'm so glad you're my partner in crime.
As long as you're my partner in time.
Insert groan here.
The script would have been a little bit better if instead of memes, they had actually done those things, like just groaned. Whatever.
Hopefully the rest
The
of
memes are,
class
I guess,
will
part of the
follow me.
charm.
I'm sorry I was
So here we're going to see Victoria hit on and then threaten Jefferson. It's got a little bit of body language to it. I kind of appreciate this conversation's
Thank you, Victoria.
overall tone. It feels in character for both characters, even before you know their secrets. And there's some tension to it that gradually changes over the course of the conversation to give the conversation arcs.
It doesn't. The contest is still a go, and I still have to pick the winner to best represent Blackwell.
That doesn't need to be true. If you pick Jefferson as the person you want to blame for Kate's suicide, then he's not in charge anymore.
Listen, you've seen my entry. You know it's better.
So you notice that
than
Victoria has constantly pursed lips. As mentioned, you design characters to make people feel the way you want them to feel. And Victoria's face is pretty much
You already love my work, so it's not
carefully
like you're playing favorites.
built specifically to look
Just
like a
imagine if you
bitch
took
at all
my photo,
times.
though. We would have to spend a lot of time together. That could be fun, don't you think?
I'm going to think that you didn't say any of that.
You might as well choose me. Otherwise, I might have to tell people you offered to choose my photo for favors or something.
So notice the subtle blocking here where she pushes at his chest and stuff like that. That sort of stuff adds so much to
I
conversations.
suggest you go back to your dorm now.
Wait.
And the way she grabs his arm and so on. Of course, the
Are you fucking
the gesture to
kidding me?
her head and that sort of stuff is also good, but the interactivity of those gestures is extremely powerful, especially in a video game where you don't often see them. After I finished saying that Max and Chloe were the only ones that were blocked, that conversation actually had pretty good
I
blocking.
think Victoria can't get any more evil.
That really doesn't compare to getting a girl gang
Let's go
raped.
find out.
I don't think that vaguely threatening a teacher is on the same level at all.
Chloe the Keymaster.
You know it.
I guess that makes me the gatekeeper.
Dude, I don't know about this. We're both already in so much trouble.
Not to mention the
You
lady riders
have
around.
time powers.
I'm serious. We're not kids anymore. We're breaking and entering.
If I have a key, how can it be breaking? I get...
Even this little dialogue is blocked fully.
Serious. We could go to jail.
Not if I'm related to the head of Blackwell security.
And that's important because this is actually an introduction to the next phase of the game, the next level of the game. So the conversation is actually secondary to the physicality of getting you immersed into the scene and showing what's going on. So by having Chloe take the lead and actively pull us into the stage, they can make us feel at home here and make us feel like we know what we're doing. As a tutorial goes, it's extremely short, so that works well. And I do recommend that if you're going to have a conversation when you enter a scene or when you leave a scene, you should try and make that conversation really heighten the impact or familiarity of the scene. We got to talk to Chloe,
That's it.
where she'll whine about how David has
The
bad
security
keys.
officer should have the key to the principal's office.
He's hiding shit, like everybody here.
Well, now we definitely have to get this door open.
The funny thing is, he's not hiding anything. I mean, there's some stuff in there that he wouldn't want published, but it's nothing any more incriminating than anywhere else we've been.
Well, you could look for the key, just in case.
Why, yes, I could.
So there's no key. All we really have to do is wait out Chloe's little adventure. We can open up some places and just take a look, though.
Here are the keys. None for the principal's office.
Oh. How about over here on this desk?
No keys here.
So earlier I said that one of the things that you need, or two of the things that you need a light source that you have, and that's this, but you also need a lot of interesting things to search and a high density of things to search. This doesn't qualify because everything that you're going to search is just another drawer, and they're arranged in these giant linear stacks. It's some of the least interesting ways you can lay things out, and there's nothing here to find. So this does not qualify as nearly as good as searching Victoria's room, and it's a real shame. And I thought, well, maybe they're just leading up to something really good, but they're not.
Nothing here. No key for thee. We have to find another way in.
I've got an idea. Let's blow it up.
Time with Frank.
I really like
Here's
this
my
next
DIY lockpick
plot
tool, but
element
I'll
here.
have a better plan.
My plan?
This here is great. It feels right, and it feels smart, and it's a good use of existing context. It's just a really good plot
You'll
element.
be okay. Listen, I need your physics expertise stat. Without naming names, if somebody had access to
This
the
was
hard
another
science
mechanic I
labs
thought would go
and
extremely well into
constructed
something that
device
was
say, open a locked door.
more of a Phoenix Wright-like game. You could be on the site investigating something, and you could call up a buddy and ask him to help.
No. Stay. We need you as backup. Just send the text instructions now. I'm sorry. I'm just not sure about a movie.
I already told him I wasn't gonna have a movie night with him, so I don't feel too bad about that.
This sucks ass. Goddamn door.
Try not to wake up everybody at Blackwell.
Sorry, Max.
That was
I
well
got
done,
nothing.
with her face being in the dark and then lit by the incoming message. That was very good. Here we can see that we have some fun diagrams,
I might get on the other side of that door before you, Lupin.
or fun plans.
Race is on.
We've got to find a whole bunch of random stuff. I'm just going to rush through it. The first time I played through it, it took me quite a while, largely because some of the things are hidden pretty well.
Let's see if I can find those.
But the
items.
problem is that there's nothing interesting, very little interesting. So this level doesn't have enough density to make searching through it with a light very fascinating. It needs to be a lot more dense, like maybe opening these lockers or things like that. And it's not there. And that's a damn shame, because I was really looking forward to Victoria's room being a new standard. I was looking forward to being a real investigator, discovering all sorts of things, and the best we can do here is look at some photographs.
I feel gross even looking at Nathan's work. but he does have some style.
That's totally uninteresting to me in comparison to finding out that Victoria collects glowing green figurines. One fun thing, there are multiple duct tapes. Which is kind of funny because the duct tape is the one that's really easy to find. What there should be multiple of is the weed killer. Yeah, we could talk to Warren. This can be a lot more immersive than I'm making it. I'm just going to push through. Simply because I don't feel that this sequence has enough power in it to bother taking our time with. But we're going to grab the weed killer, except we can't grab it. We have to look at it.
Here's the sodium chloride box.
You can find out that the sodium chloride is weed killer. So you notice that now it says we can take it. Well, the first time I played, I thought we had to find some other method to get up there. I didn't realize it was just going to say take. But they turned it into a joke about how she's so clumsy, so that's fun. They've already used her clumsiness as an excuse so much that they're making fun of it. Oh, now all we need is like a couple pounds of sugar.
One more ingredient.
I wonder where we can find a couple pounds of sugar. Oh, there is some.
Sugar.
So, although that seems random, I like the idea that the science teacher takes so much sugar with her coffee that she carries it in, pound boxes. That's great. This exam file is reasonably interesting if you screw up earlier, but right now it's very boring. So if you do the job well over the course of the game, Warren gets an A- and nothing else happens. If you didn't help Warren in the last chapter, he'll have a B- and you're allowed to cheat. And that's kind of fun. That's the only thing that I really enjoyed about this sequence, was choosing whether or not to help Warren by cheating. Other than that, that's the entirety of this ingredient collection section. And we're going to go ahead and get into the really fun part of this game. It starts as soon as I talk to Chloe, but I'm not going to talk to Chloe in this episode because it's already been 25 minutes. And we're not going to want to interrupt what's going to go on next. So I'll see you in the next episode.